Hi, I'm Aron Cramer, excuse me, President and CEO of BSR. I'm delighted to welcome you to the 2019 BSR conference. And someone just before I came up said this is like a high school reunion, so you all look really great. You haven't aged one bit. I'll do better than that. Every year that goes by, I'm more and more grateful for the support and the partnership that this community offers up and the sense of purpose that you all have. So it really is a privilege for all of us at BSR to be able to welcome you here and spend 3 days and hopefully make some good new things happen. We're living in pretty extraordinary times and pretty extraordinarily important times. Before I get into some of that, I'll just say a few things about the conference. You know, we always want the conference to inform you, to inspire you, hopefully challenge you, and equip you to do some new things. We've got some great speakers, including a couple of people this evening on the plenary stage I think you're going to find really inspiring and exciting, and breakout sessions where we're covering a remarkable range of topics. So we spent a lot of time putting it together and think that you'll have great opportunities to learn and stretch and hopefully enjoy things as well. We've got a track of sessions, a number of sessions that build on the theme of the conference, so a deep dive on different aspects of the new climate for business, which I'll talk about a bit. But we all know that this conference, I hope, and I think conferences generally, the unexpected is often what's really exciting. So try to meet someone you don't know, ask a question that's been bothering you, but maybe you haven't asked. Go learn about a topic that maybe you're not going to do anything about next week when you get back to your office. You use the time to explore. Definitely say hello to our team. We've got over 50 members of our team from Asia and Europe and even here in the United States, including our office in San Francisco. We work with many of you the other 51 weeks of the year, as I think you know, so spend some time talking to them, because often the things that we end up working on, projects or collaborations, come from questions or dilemmas that you bring to us. I think we're pretty smart, actually, but there's more of you than there are of us, and so you bring us some really great ideas, and hopefully together we can create some great opportunities. I want to thank our sponsors. We have a number of very generous sponsors. They enable us to make the conference go, so thanks to them. Let's thank them and our team. All right, so the world we're living in, it's kind of interesting. So my first job after university was at ABC News in New York, and I went to work there in the mid-'80s, and the executives at that time, and that was a time when the network news sort of controlled a lot of the information, had a lot of market share. The executives would say constantly, there's no news, there's nothing happening, and that's kind of a first world problem these days. That's not our situation. There's a lot going on. The world is spinning faster than ever, and there are days when there are good reasons for optimism and days when you might want to crawl under a rock. The world is moving in some really unpredictable ways and so on. And where we are right now, we at BSR consider this really the start of the 2020s. So we are entering the decisive decade of the 2020s, because over the next 10 years, we will either meet the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, or we won't. We will make the vision of the Paris Agreement a reality, or we won't. And we will build a more inclusive form of capitalism, or we won't. The stakes are high, and this is the journey that we're embarking on. What we know for sure is that the 2020s won't look much like what's come before, and that's why we wanted to have the theme of the new climate for business here at the conference. So let's talk a little bit about what this new climate is all about. First, and I think this is really crucially important, for the first time in several decades, people are asking very fundamental questions about whether capitalism is fit for purpose. Very fundamental questions about the market economy. Really since the Thatcher and Reagan and neoliberal model took hold in the late 70s, markets have been seen as the most efficient way to deliver economic benefit, growth, and societal advancement. But people don't feel that way right now. In the United States, 40% of Americans say that they're favorable towards socialism. That is a number that's gone way up. 7 out of 10 millennials say that they would happily vote for a socialist. These are public opinions that we have not seen in this country for a very, very long time. And it's not only people outside of business who are saying this. I'm sure many of you saw when Mark Benioff, the founder and co-CEO of Salesforce, said recently, capitalism as we have known it is dead. That wasn't Bernie Sanders, that was Mark Benioff. And so people inside business are seeing that the system is not working the way it needs to. So why is this happening? Well, most people think that the accumulation of wealth in the hands of a very few people is just wrong, and they're feeling a lot of anxiety about the future with all of the changes that we're seeing, and worrying about declining living standards for their kids. So there's just a strong sense that the system isn't working, a sense that endless growth and consumption is not what we need. These are big fundamental questions that many, many people are asking. And so for all of us who are in business, who work with business, we have to come up with answers to this. We also know that the natural world is in retreat and it's in revolt. And our planet is no longer stable and healthy. And if our planet is not stable and healthy, we will not live in stable societies, and we will not be healthy. Species extinction is growing very, very rapidly, and for business, we can't rely on having the natural resources that we rely on to deliver value. We can't be certain that we'll have the water and all the commodities that we depend on. This is a big shift. Innovation. So we're here in Silicon Valley. We chose to be in Silicon Valley very deliberately. There are amazing, important, exciting, and positive things happening, but the public has lost faith in innovation. Public has lost faith in innovation. We need innovation. We need it very badly. If we're going to solve our 21st century challenges, we have to have innovative products and services, and we need to create human agency for people, new business models. It's absolutely crucial, but if Peter Drucker were here, he would remind us all that we need innovation, we need technology that is doing the right thing in addition to doing it right. And people, again, have lost faith that that's actually happening. This is all relevant to us every day, and for those of us working in sustainable business, we're sort of being challenged from the left and from the right. From the left, there are big calls for more of a state-driven approach and a loss in the belief that markets can deliver the kinds of benefits that we need, can deliver the kinds of innovation we need to attack climate change, et cetera. There's strong reservations about how the market economy is working. From the right, it's a different kind of challenge. And there is a very, very troubling rejection of the values that drive us every day. An attack on diversity, lack of respect for migrants, lack of respect for human rights, and climate action is being rejected not only in the White House, but also in Brasilia, in Canberra, and in many, many other parts of the world. So the kinds of solutions that we have worked on, that we believe in, are being attacked from both sides, and I think we need to figure out how to remake what it is that we're doing. The fact is, though, so these are all challenges. The fact is, the new climate for business also has a lot of really positive elements. I think all of us know that investors are paying more attention to ESG than ever before. Green bonds followed by social bonds. The funds that are ESG funds are exploding, and the returns are really, really good. The costs of renewables are coming down very, very rapidly. Hard to abate sectors like aviation and cement and shipping are moving, no pun intended, moving very, very fast now to decarbonize. And the media are paying more attention to sustainability than ever before, the mainstream media. We'll talk about that in a plenary tomorrow at lunch. And of course, we see employees pushing their companies to be more ambitious, which is challenging for business leaders, but very, very exciting. And of course, we have much greater awareness about the fact that women deserve to be treated fairly in work and elsewhere, and for all of the horrible stories that we've heard over the last several years, awareness is rising and change is coming. This is also part of the new climate for business. So for those of us who work on sustainability in this context, let's remember something really important. Sustainable business has always been about a better future. I think that for a lot of people, faith in the future has been lost. It's been lost. People do not believe that their lives will be better than their parents. People don't necessarily believe that technology will make life better. People are concerned about what the future will bring. I think we are all about building a better future. We have to deliver the goods. We have to not only have faith in the future, but also deliver. So how will business meet this moment? We know for certain that without the unique assets of business, we won't accomplish the goals that we care so much about. But we need to make sure that we have a strong vision, big ambition, and really powerful collaboration. In terms of vision, the Financial Times put it very well in September. Businesses that combine profit with a wider purpose will benefit from the reinforced commitment of employees and customers. Financial Times speaks in more complete sentences than I do. Those that fail to do so will not survive to become the companies of the future. So that's a pretty stark choice. And for all the talk these days about purpose, we know this, that only companies with a big animating purpose, motivating purpose, will be able to get through all of these changes that are reshaping our world. Our times also require ambition, and the businesses that thrive in the coming decades will also be the ones that are the most ambitious. And we know also that business leaders are sometimes very reluctant to state a big vision. Well, we don't know how we're going to get there, and we hear that all the time. But the fact is, caution is as unsuited to today's world as a rotary phone is, if anyone can recall what a rotary phone is, or an all-male board of directors. I think we know all too well what all-male boards of directors look like. Ambition is the only way to create truly resilient business strategies. This is not a time for caution. And then there's collaboration, and business leadership will be defined more and more by collaboration that builds systems change. It's absolutely fundamental. The idea of leadership as a solitary exercise or as a solitary action exercised by a singular leader has to be put out to pasture. It has to be retired. I think we've learned enough over the last few years to know that someone who says, "I alone can fix it," may not really be able to do that. That's a delusional fiction. We need leaders who collaborate, leaders who understand the limits of what they can accomplish on their own, leaders who respect the complementary talents of others, and leaders who know how to share credit. This is a new definition of what leadership is all about, and we need to embrace it. So, okay, vision, ambition, collaboration, these are crucial. So too is a sense of urgency. And we have to act with urgency. And if we think about what the more programmatic agenda is, what are we trying to accomplish, the Sustainable Development Goals tell us a lot of what we need to know. But the question is, are we going to act with the kind of urgency that we need? And so here I'm going to offer up an urgency agenda for 2020 that is designed to deliver for 2030. First, how does this economy work? Can we commit to achieving more widely shared prosperity? The backlash that we're seeing from the Gilets jaunes in France to the protests in Chile are all about people's sense of being left behind and a lack of economic fairness. Again, this is not something for your GRI report. Economic fairness is a very simple concept, and a lot of people don't believe that it's present. So companies need to recommit to creating opportunities and skill development that will help people navigate the 21st century. We are publishing today a paper with principles on the 21st century social contract, the rules between government and business and citizens and employees. These are principles that should guide how work proceeds, what the role of business is all about, how we deal with data privacy, and how we make the transition to zero carbon, a net zero carbon economy. And we invite you to join us in helping to shape this. We'll be doing more work on this in 2020. We need to make sure that we're focusing on technologies that respect human rights and ethics principles. innovation moves a lot more quickly than either social consensus or regulatory frameworks. Reid Hoffman, who started LinkedIn, has written a book recently called Blitz Scaling, and the notion that you have to get big fast. And there's a chapter in the book called Responsible Blitz Scaling. It's not a persuasive chapter, in my opinion. The need for speed, the move fast and break things thinking that has driven so much here in Silicon Valley and other parts of the world clearly is out of sync with what society's expectations are. We need technologies that are trusted, that respect privacy, and that respect democracy. These are things that enable connection. It's absolutely crucial. They give human agency like we've never seen before, but we have to think more about the social context of these innovations. And we've been working with a number of companies in the tech sector to do some really interesting work to help ensure that that's happening. In 2020, we think that it's essential that companies who do not consider themselves tech companies take up this agenda, because now it is true that every company is a tech company, and every company is using technologies, and the social context needs to be a part of the design. Net zero carbon. A little over a year ago, we had the Global Climate Action Summit here in California. California committed to a net zero carbon economy power system by 2045. There are a lot of people following now. Governments, the UK, companies, nearly 100 companies have signed up for a 1.5 degree target, more ambition than before. Things are moving, and we need to make sure that this continues so that the real economy does shift towards the kind of model that will allow us to get to zero carbon. If you live in California like I do, you're getting tired of wearing a mask every October and November because of the horrible fires. Australia's on alert right now, worst fire danger they've ever experienced. Shit's getting real, okay? My colleagues at BSR know I don't use profanity, okay? That's how, my kids will tell you the same thing. It's really important, and we're not moving fast enough. It's also important for companies to align their lobbying practices with their commitments, and so we're working with some other organizations to bring companies to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on November 19th in Washington. If more companies show that they are committed to making change happen, they want public policies to support that, more good things will happen. Without it, they won't. We're working with companies on TCFD scenarios, which drive real change at the most senior level of companies. These are things that are shifting, not just the debate, they're shifting business models, and it's hugely valuable, and we invite you to join us on that as well. We also need to be ready for emerging issues. As I said at the top, the world is spinning very, very fast. In 2020, there's going to be a lot more attention to food systems, to regenerative agriculture, nature-based solutions to climate, and we are going to launch an effort to bring to our members more information that you can use about emerging issues so that you can stay ahead of this fast-changing debate. It's absolutely crucial. And lastly, advocating for open societies. Because none of these things will happen, none of these things will work if we build walls and we reinforce borders. Business has always supported open markets for very obvious reasons and very good reasons. But open markets can't survive if societies aren't open. Many leaders are promoting xenophobia and racism, division. Business needs to use its voice to preserve and expand open societies because they enable creativity, connection, investment, and yes, also trade. The fact is that the hardware of business will not work if the software of open societies is disabled. Now, a lot of companies and a lot of business leaders may think this is too political, but frankly, the stakes are too high to take that point of view, and your employees want you to use your voice. Your employees want you to use your voice. So more and more, we are working with companies on an influence agenda to ensure that they are in alignment and they are advocating for the kind of change that we are all working for and that most companies are working for today. So these are elements of a 2020 agenda that are designed to deliver 2030, make the most of this decisive decade, and move us forward. So let me end by looking back a little bit. So in the aftermath of World War II, one of the first U.S. Secretaries of State was Dean Acheson, and he titled his memoirs "Present at the Creation." And that phrase became almost a cliche about the people who were the architects of the post-war order that delivered decolonization in the world, delivered rising living standards, and slowly opening societies. Very important things. And Dean Acheson gives us a reminder that's very important. The future is built one day at a time. Let's keep that in mind, because for us, as I said, the 2020s start now. This conference can be a time when we redouble our commitments and we really make sure that the next 10 years count. The 2020s will matter not only for the 2020s, they will matter not only for the 2030, but they will chart the path that will define the rest of the 21st century. That is a big opportunity, it's a big responsibility, it can be a lot of fun, and it starts right now, so let's go make it happen. Thank you.